The trade winds whispered through the open windows of our small house in Oahu, carrying the scent of sea salt and plumeria. I was sitting on the worn-out sofa, a cup of green tea resting in my hand, when my eyes caught something that unsettled me. My daughter, Kyla, was curled up in the armchair across the room, her fingers tapping swiftly across her phone screen. She was only 15, yet the smile that stretched across her face looked far older than her years, almost secretive. For a moment, I told myself it was nothing. Teenagers always lived inside their phones, lost in a world of silly videos or harmless messages with friends. But there was something in her expression, a softness mixed with a kind of mischief, that made my heart pause. She glanced at me briefly, then quickly tilted the phone away, as if afraid I might see something I should not. "Kyla," I said gently, "who are you talking to?" Her smile faltered for only a second, then she shrugged, her voice casual. "Just a friend." The way she said it unsettled me even more. Just a friend. Yet her cheeks flushed with a kind of glow that no ordinary friendship brought. My tea turned bitter on my tongue, and I placed the cup on the table, my eyes fixed on her. That night, as the waves crashed softly against the shore outside, I lay awake in my bed. The image of her smile would not leave me. I could not tell if it was the innocent smile of a girl discovering her first crush, or the dangerous kind that comes when secrets grow too heavy to hide. By the time dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of gold and crimson, I knew one thing for certain. Whatever my daughter was hiding behind that smile, I had to uncover it before it was too late. The following afternoon, Kyla left her phone on the table while she went to her room. The screen lit up with a notification. A name appeared, but it was not one I recognized. It was not from her classmates, not from the surf club she sometimes joined. It was something different. My fingers trembled as I reached for it, but just as I did, the screen went dark, locked behind the code only she knew. I sat frozen, listening to the sound of her door closing upstairs. The house, usually filled with the rhythm of the waves and the chatter of neighbors, suddenly felt heavy with silence. I had always trusted my daughter, yet for the first time, I felt as though there was a wall rising between us. Every locked screen, every hidden smile, built it higher. That night, I tiptoed into her room while she slept. Her phone rested beside her pillow, glowing faintly. I wanted to pick it up, to see what lay behind the lock screen, but I stopped. My own reflection stared back at me in her mirror, and I wondered if I was about to break the trust of the only person who truly needed me. Still, deep down, the question grew louder. Who was Kyla really smiling at? Days passed, each one filled with the same secretive glances at her phone, the same giggles she tried to stifle. My worry grew, and one evening I decided to follow her. She told me she was going to meet friends near the shoreline. I waited until she left, then trailed her carefully through the narrow streets of our neighborhood. The sun was sinking into the Pacific, casting a golden glow across the sand. Kyla walked quickly, her eyes darting about as if to make sure she was not being watched. Then she stopped beneath a palm tree, where a boy stood waiting. He looked older, maybe 17 or 18, with a sharpness in his eyes that unsettled me. I stayed hidden, my heart pounding as I watched them. He handed her something small, folded tightly in his hand. She slipped it into her pocket, smiling that same secret smile. When she finally walked away, the boy's gaze followed her until she was gone. Only then did he turn and vanish into the crowd by the beach. That night, I could not eat. Something was unfolding before my eyes, and I had no control over it. The next morning, I found the folded paper hidden in her school bag. It was a note, written with messy handwriting, saying, "You looked beautiful today. Meet me again soon." My stomach tightened. It was not the words themselves that frightened me, but the idea of my daughter being drawn into something she was not ready for. At breakfast, Kyla spoke lightly about school, pretending nothing had happened. I studied her carefully, noticing how she kept touching her pocket, as though checking if the note was still safe. She was guarding it like a secret treasure. I forced a smile, but inside I was drowning in fear. What if this boy was not what he seemed? What if he pulled her into a world she could not escape from? One evening, Kyla told me she was staying late at the library. I offered to pick her up, but she refused quickly, saying she would walk home with a friend. Her tone was too hurried, her eyes too restless. I waited. Hours passed, and when she finally returned, her hair smelled faintly of salt water and smoke, not the dusty scent of old books. "How was the library?" I asked. She hesitated for a heartbeat before answering. "It was fine. I studied." It was the first time my daughter had lied to me so boldly. The realization cut me deeply, yet it also ignited a fierce determination. I had to find out who this boy was and what he truly wanted from my child. The following weekend, I followed her again. This time, she walked farther, past the familiar beach and into a quieter stretch of the coastline where few people went after dark. The boy was already there, waiting with a careless grin. I crouched behind a row of rocks, listening as their voices floated across the sand. "I wish we could see each other more," he said. "You know my mom would never allow it," Kyla whispered back. "You do not have to tell her everything," he replied, his voice smooth, too smooth. My heart hammered as I realized the truth. She was slipping away from me, piece by piece, drawn into the orbit of someone who seemed to know exactly what to say to keep her under his spell. Later that night, when Kyla was asleep, I finally gave in. I unlocked her phone using her fingerprint while she lay still. My hands shook as the screen came to life. There were dozens of messages. Some were sweet, filled with compliments and promises. Others were darker, pushing her to keep secrets, to meet in places where no one could see them. And then I saw a picture. A photo of my daughter taken from a distance, not by her, but by him. My blood ran cold. This was no innocent friendship. This was a trap. The next morning, I confronted her. My voice trembled as I held out the phone. "Kyla, this boy is not who you think he is." Her eyes widened with shock, then filled with anger. "You read my messages? You went through my phone." She pushed past me, her face burning with fury. "You do not understand. He cares about me more than you ever could." Her words struck me like a blade. But beneath the pain, my fear only grew stronger. She was defending him. She believed his lies. I knew then that I could not wait any longer. I had to stop this before it destroyed her. That evening, I returned to the place where I had seen them meet. The boy was there again, leaning against the trunk of a palm tree, his eyes scanning the beach. I stepped forward, my voice sharp. "Stay away from my daughter." He smirked, unfazed. "She is not a little girl anymore. She can make her own choices." "She is 15, I said, my voice trembling with rage. "If you ever come near her again, I will make sure you regret it." For a moment, the smile faded from his face, replaced by a flicker of something darker. Then he turned and walked away, leaving me shaking under the moonlight. But I knew it was not over. Not yet. The next day, Kyla disappeared. Her school called to say she had not shown up. My world collapsed in that instant. I ran through the streets, asking neighbors, searching the beaches, my voice breaking as I called her name. Hours later, I found her near the shoreline, standing with the boy. She looked torn, her eyes brimming with tears. "Kyla, please," I begged. "Come home with me." The boy reached for her hand, but she hesitated. The wind whipped through the palms, the ocean roared, and for a long moment, time seemed to stand still. Finally, Kyla pulled her hand away from his grip. She turned to me, her face pale, her voice trembling. "Mum, I am sorry." She ran into my arms, sobbing as the boy vanished into the night. I held her tightly, knowing that this was not the end of her pain, but it was the beginning of her healing. The smile that had once unsettled me was gone, replaced by tears. And in those tears, I finally saw the truth. My daughter had been saved from a darkness that almost claimed her, and I would never let her face it alone again.